what it was.
Is
It's
it
like
all moms?
y'all gonna learn how to feel these feelings.
Okay, so I'm gonna start our intro track.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
One look in your eyes, and there I see just what you mean to me. Why do people feel the need to mime songs out? Liturgical dance. Your love is all I need. Holding you close through the night. I need you.
Don't look at my mouth too hard because I'm messing these lyrics.
I look in your eyes, and there I see what happiness really means. The love that we share makes life so sweet. Together we'll always be. This blood of love feels so right, and you I need. What an amazing voice. Promise to love faithfully. You're all I need. Here and now, I vow to be one with thee. Your love is all I need. Say, when I look in your eyes, there I see all that a love should really be. And I need you more each day. Nothing can take your love away. More than I dare to dream.
Hello. I'm so sorry I'm late.
You jamming, baby.
There is no late.
I love this. I love this.
But not in this yoga that's happening right now.
Oh, are you trying to join in on the chat? What?
Wow. Does that go out to all of our mothers? Is that
All of our mothers.
Honestly, I was like, I wish my mom was here for this. She would appreciate it.
it felt really organic. You know, we're starting a playlist for our talk this evening. It's going to be a collaborative playlist, and so I'm putting the Spotify link in the chat for everyone to contribute.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this. I have so many playlists on Spotify.
Perfect. Well, I mean, you're going to be doing a lot of talking tonight, friend, so I don't know how much time you'll have to contribute.
I'm going to sneak some things in here throughout the night.
Awesome. Okay, so we were just listening to Uncle Luther, who I think, you know, Jackie and I were talking about this special place that this music holds in our mother's households growing up. Zakia, what does Luther mean to you?
I think just like kind of like pure, like unfiltered joy. Like my mom, like I'm sure like most of our moms, is a hardcore Luther fan. She was always blasting Luther, like whenever there was an opportunity. Like we have those old school speakers that were like this high. And so she would like play Luther, play it in the car. So I think for me, when I hear any song by him, it just makes me think about love and joy. So that's kind of like my connection to it.
Wow, what a beautiful place for us to start our chat this evening, centering love and joy. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thank you for asking. What a good way to start off a Zoom call.
Oh yeah, we are in a jacuzzi. You know, we're sipping champagne. It's Friday afternoon. This is relaxing. I'm with my sisters. It's a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day. We're all drinking from mugs. What are you drinking in your mug, Jackie?
I have some tea. Moonset and Co. They have a really delicious tea. And I'm drinking it. It's an autumn tea. So I was like, I need to feel something in my chest. I need some warmth. I need my heart to open up a little bit. So that's what I'm sipping on. What you sipping on?
What are you drinking, Zakia?
I'm just drinking water. You know, that's what I got. Some water. I'm going to have my little, you know, drinky drink later. But for now, it's water.
I'm a elderberry and OJ.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
It's delicious. It's mostly just orange juice, but it has a funky color to it. I'm gonna.
It's a little rose purplish.
Yeah. Sounds very like antioxidant, like
you already know.
Heavy.
I'm trying to keep it tight up in here.
Yeah.
These areas. Okay, you guys. Well, I'm Jessica. And I am so happy to be here today in this space with these brilliant minds. And before we go any further, I want to bring Sadie Woods into this room. Sadie is our curator at the August Wilson Center and the person for making all of this possible. So Sadie, I just want to uplift you in this space and make sure you're present. How you doing tonight, Sadie?
Hi guys.
Hi.
Hi. It's nice to see you all. I'm doing good. I'm just tuning in from my classroom, so I have on my lovely mask, as you can see. But it's great to see you all, and I'm very much looking forward to the conversation you all will have. You know, all the brilliant minds here. So, yeah.
Thank you, Sadie. We're so appreciative to you and all that you're doing to create space for us at the August Wilson Center. So thank you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Okay. David was making fun of me earlier today about me doing Zoom calls, and he was doing an impression of me. He was like, okay, everybody start off and let's do a breathing. But I feel like we should. So let's yeah. Jackie, do you want to lead our welcome breathing exercise?
Our welcome breath? Okay. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Jackie. So before we start, let's not like jump into it. Let's take a pause and feel your feet flat on the ground. right? Shake those shoulders out a little bit. Work your neck out a little bit. Where your hips are feeling a little tight, work that out. Just give yourself a nice sway. And then just come back into a nice centered space. Now feel your feet on the ground nice and flat. Inhale into your chest. Exhale, release. So we're going to start with a more shallow breath. You're going to deepen this breath with each inhale. Exhaling, releasing out through your nose or your mouth. Through your mouth if you want to kind of clear some energy, and through your nose if you want to just feel yourself a little bit. Feel that power building. And do that 3 more times, and then I think we'll be okay. And you can come back to that breath throughout today.
The queen of center, Jackie Walker, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you all for allowing me to. Thank you.
Yeah. This kind of relates, but I did a sound bowl healing therapy session with a friend last night, and I'm kind of still coming down from it because it was my first time doing it. And I'm like, where has this been in my life? Like, I'm now like obsessed with it. Like, it was the most like miraculous, like balancing thing I think I've done like all year. So I just kind of wanted to share that. I don't know if you all have done like sound bowls before, but it's like now a life changer for me.
It's like all that vibration flowing through your body at one time. And I asked myself the same question. I was like, where has this been? And I realized, I said, that's the club. Like, where are the other places we go? This church, right? Where you get to feel like when I'm in a church and you can hear an organ, right? And there's other spiritual spaces, but I was like, oh, this shows up. This is there. Like, but the sound bowls are super soothing.
It's not even begun. Like, I haven't even formally introduced y'all, and we've been homies for years, right? Like, this is just, it feels like we are catching up on a Monday after we had cocktails together on Friday. So like, let's get into it. Without further ado, as I mentioned, I'm Jessica Moss, and I'm so excited that you are here today. We are under siege, our lives are at risk, and we either know this or we face extinction. Black space is Black power. The Black Box Test is an exhibition currently on view at the August Wilson African American Cultural Center that invites only people who identify as Black, African American, African Caribbean, Afro-Latinx, or African or of the African diaspora to enter, engage, and explore the space. Today, I'm very grateful to be joined by 2 brilliant artists, creatives, advocates, visionaries, who could be known, as I said last week, just by their first names, Jackie and Zakia. I am so grateful that you are both here today. I'm going to drop both of your bios in the chat, but I'd love to give you an opportunity to introduce yourselves. Jackie, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Walker. I'm a artist, I'm a lawyer, I'm a yoga instructor. I am a daughter and a sister and an auntie. And I'm a young lady from Garfield in the city of Pittsburgh.
Thank you so much. Zakia, I'm gonna pass it to you.
Hey y'all, my name is Zakia Najiba Dumas O'Neill, and I'm a Chicago-based visual artist, arts educator, independent curator, and arts organizer. And I think one of the driving forces through all of the work that I do has a lot to do with not withholding on my feelings, or like not holding back when it comes to, I guess, like vulnerability and like sharing that with other people in a particular way. I'm also an auntie. My nieces and nephews call me TT Kia. I'm also a daughter, granddaughter, God bless my grandmother's soul. And yeah, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having us.
Of course, this is so exciting. So in this exhibition, really, I'm adapting this methodology of black box testing. It's a practice of software testing that's often used in science and computing and engineering. Basically, a black box system can be viewed in terms of its inputs and outputs without any knowledge of its internal workings. This term can be used to refer to the inner workings of an engine, an algorithm, the human brain, an institution, or even a government. The Black Box Test exhibition is an interactive installation that consists of thematic illustrations, concept maps, a sound piece by artist and DJ Marwo, selections from private libraries of artists Sonia Louise Davis, Bekezela Maguni, and Camille Posley, as well as a robust program with Black experts across the field who are dedicated to creating and protecting Black spaces. I want to be clear. The Black Box Test is not tied to labor or productivity. Like all of the artists who are a part of our speaking, we do not dream of labor. Instead, I'd like to focus our energy towards care, towards rest, towards play, towards joy, as Zakia pointed out earlier. This is not a work or a space about assimilation. We're not upholding systemic oppressions or recreating traditional models of exploitation that continuously prove ineffective, hinder our progress, and limit our expansiveness. Instead, we are thinking about just how expansive Blackness is. Black box systems are not only an observation, but also an experiment. So here, in this Black space, where we've created a container for our dreams, our schemes, discourse, and scholarships, we are the architects. We are making our own rules. We're doing this collectively and without hierarchy. So in this experiment today, I'd like to try something new in our Zoom sphere, which I have not shared with Jackie or Zakia before our discussion today. I'm gonna act as our moderator in that I will propose an initial prompt and keep track of our time, but each of your responses should end with a question in hopes of creating a generative discussion. How does this sound? It's like on an airplane when you're seated on the exit. I need a verbal yes.
I'm here for it.
No, I love it. I love asking questions. So
Okay, awesome.
Choose your own adventure, but not.
It is a choose your own adventure. So what has come from the previous sessions is that, and I'll just reference this so that it's not a question later. When I ask this prompt, it's going to go to one person first. The next person can, of course, build on the prompt, but also answer the question if a first person asks a question. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have good friends, Taylor Renee Aldridge and Jessica Lynn, who've written a piece called "This Is How You Tell the Truth." It's really an essay on friendship and criticism and the refusal of silences. It's an essay about wayfinding. It's not a manifesto. It's a guide, a marker, and a testimony. It's a place to which we may return. It's an ongoing process of naming ourselves for ourselves. And it starts, "Dear Jess, lately I've been thinking about the potential pitfalls and unmitigated risks involved in intersubjective critique. What does it mean to make a public critique about a community that you belong to, one that you are deeply invested in and implicated by? How do we make critiques within our own spaces of intimate and familial relationships?" I've asked and invited both of you here today because I think that you have this unique ability of being in multiple places at once and living in multiple truths. And it's kind of the idea in our title of today's discussion, Here and There, as well as our intro with Luther, Here and Now. I'm thinking even Jackie talked about before the church and the club and these the synchronicity that exists between these two places. And so Jackie, I'm going to start with you. Here's the question that I'm pulling from this text from Aldrich and Lynn. How do we make critiques within our own spaces of intimate and familial relationships?
The first thing that comes up is just with love, right? Like, before I say things, I spend a lot of time in self-examination, right? Understanding how I'm relating to whatever it is that I'm feeling, from the experience I might be having with another person or with another place or what, you know what I mean? And I start to wonder, like, well, what's that about? So I try to get curious first, but then I try to like root down in love before I open my mouth, because so much of what we say is not what we're saying, it's how we're saying it. It's the action that's happening behind. Our communication is so like the amount of verbal communication that we actually have is so minimal in comparison to how we communicate with our tone, how we communicate with our, so when I offer critique, it's always with love attached to it. And, yeah. And so, Zakia, I see you like in agreement. So I think I want to build off of that with you. Like, I'm all about like the practical aspect. So from a practical place, what does that look like for you?
Oh, child, that is such a challenging question. Because similarly, I also believe in critiquing from a place of love or like concern, or when I think of like a critique that is actually rooted in love and like not rooted in something that's unproductive or that's like attacking or that's aggressive, I think about like the ways that we're consumed by how much we care about something or care about a thing. Like I'm listening to what Taylor and Jessica, this kind of like exchange and questioning about how do you make these critiques. And I think for me, I've practiced it through first prefacing like my care for a certain thing beforehand. Like this is like, if it could be like an artist's work, it could be a situation that happened. Or, I give a prime example. For example, bless his heart, Virgil Abloh recently transitioned. And I remember when his exhibition was up at the MCA a few years ago, and I was working there during that time. And we all just really, a lot of Black people that I know and that I was working with, we did not like that show. And we were harshly critical of this exhibition, primarily because we care so much about the way that Black artists are cared for and the way that Black artists' work is sort of contextualized, and how it's complicated. And we felt that that was not being shown with an exhibition like that. And the way that we showed that care and that, critique was through conversations. And I think for me, I sort of practice it in conversation or practice it with another person. If someone does something, and that can be something on the personal side, it doesn't even have to be art related or related to my work. But if someone does something that I'm a little worried about, I'm like, I don't like the way you did that. Or I feel like there's something more that could be added to this conversation or this issue that's not being said. I think just like verbalizing that and communicating that. And like you were saying, I think language, at least verbal language, is so limited that sometimes speaking things before you have a chance to kind of like process it, digest it, things might come out the way that they're not supposed to, or the way that you don't intend them to. So when I was younger, I used to talk fast. I'm like, if I didn't like something, I was going to say it. I'm making like a harsh critique, but now I really have to consider, I'm like, I am in a community that carries other belief systems and other ways of like thinking and producing that are going to be completely different from the way that I think and produce, and even people that are producing different types of critiques than I have. And so I think that like it's important to just have an initial conversation. And I'm also a huge fan of like the interpersonal. So I think we live in a time where people love to kind of like throw their critiques out on social media, out into the world. And I kind of like, I would rather pull someone to the side and have like what I would call like a private kind of moment where you're like pulling someone in or pulling an issue in, and stating how you feel about it. And I think moving with your feeling first is really, for me, more productive than moving with the critique first. So it's like, how do you feel about this particular thing, and sort of stating how you feel about it, and then maybe making that critique. Because I think if it's coming from a place of love and concern, as I was saying, that's a lot more internalized. Then I think that that is a lot more productive and generative than just kind of throwing out a critique.
Because
Yeah.
people love to throw critiques like whoosh. And you're like, oh,
Right. And it's like, okay, let's talk
see.
about this. Like, let's pull this person in, or like let's pull this issue in and like really work with it. So, because I'm a Virgo. I love to critique all day, every day. So but from a place of love.
Like, I have an opinion. Yes.
It's because I care. Yeah. But I would also like to ask you all that question, like, how do you all practice that?
So I think for me, I think the way it shows up for me from a practical perspective, I do try that gentleness, right, that you offer. But what I'm learning too is vulnerability for me sometimes is coming with that fire, right?
Mm.
And this is more so, this, and I think not just in the space itself. I think on a very personal level, on that interpersonal level. Um, I think this past year has been a year in which I've had to get very clear on who I am, right?
Mm.
And who I am and who I'm becoming is becoming a much clearer place for me. And so things that that are almost habits of how I have navigated in community, I'm
Mm.
learning I have to change that. And I have to change it because the person I'm becoming needs a little bit of leeway. I need to be able to express myself and it not be perfect. I also need to be able to express vulnerably. I think coming up in the systems that I have, it is about putting on a very specific face and not being vulnerable,
Mm.
right? It is about being like, okay, like I have to posture like this at least for a little bit to figure some things out. And I think so much of where I'm at now is saying, no, I just need to really be myself. And
Mm.
so if I am hurt, I need to express that I'm hurt. If I am upset, or if something is not acceptable and a boundary has been crossed, it's like, oh, I need to be firm. And that firmness is something that I am practicing, and I've been practicing it. And so I'm realizing that this love that I want to walk in and show to others is something I have to show to myself first.
Ugh.
Um, and so that's where I'm at right now, right? Like baby stepping it with just like, how do you want to love you? How do you want to, exist in that so that you can express that?
Mm.
Mhm. And I
Yeah,
see
I think we
Marietta.
all need to
Yeah.
sit with that.
So I think that love, not just in our own spaces and in our own community, but it makes me want to think about too, like, how are you showing yourself love right now, Zakia? Like, how do you, like, especially we're at the end of the year, the end of the Georgian, excuse me, not the Georgian calendar year, the Gregorian calendar year. We've had many New Years in between that happening all this fall.
Mhm.
So, um, in this season of newness, what are your commitments? How are you going to be devoted to yourself and show that devotion this year?
Oh, I don't, you know what? I think I shared this with a friend, another friend, actually, the friend I was with last night for the Sound Bowl therapy, was that I'm trying to offer that to myself through slowness. I have been very productive this year in a lot of ways that have been exciting, but also not healthy. Um, Not healthy on my body, healthy for, everything up here. And so I think as the year kind of winds down, I really just want to just like be more slow and like find more time to just like read, do nothing, indulge in like little luxuries that I like I love wine. Like,
What's your favorite wine to sip right now?
oh, my favorite is Shiraz. So it's two, Shiraz and Petite Syrah, which is like a variation of Shiraz. Those are my two favorite wines. So I'm like, I just want to drink that and, read a good book, catch up on shows and just do nothing. I think for me, that is kind of the gift that I want to give myself, is just doing nothing and then having my friends come over and share that with me. So I'm kind of like in a hosting mode, but I'm just like, just come over. I'm like, I don't care what we do. Like, we can just sit on the couch, we can drink wine, we can watch TV, I'll cook, we can eat some cheese, we can eat some snacks, like just whatever
Are
is
you
like
nice with the
I've been thinking
charcuterie
about.
board? Is your charcuterie board game on point?
I think it's pretty on point. I mean,
Okay.
I'm learning. I am a charcuterie beginner.
Okay.
So I have not reached intermediate status yet, but I think we're moving there. And and so that's the thing that I'm trying to incorporate more of. I'm like, how do I because I dream of leisure a lot. Like I dream of being at home. Like I actually dream about just being at home
Oh,
more. And so that's what I'm trying to incorporate, because I'm like, I just want to be at home. Um, yeah. So that's where I guess I'm trying to find that love for myself. Um, but I guess the question I have for you, that's something that I'm curious about, as someone who works kind of with yoga and healing practices, that takes a lot of labor and a lot of energy. And I imagine can be very exhausting. So I'm really curious, like, just in general, like, what are things that you do to kind of like recharge or regenerate yourself because of the work that you do? Like, do you have like consistent practices that like bring you back to yourself?
I do. This year, things kind of fell apart in a really beautiful way. Like, I got to rebuild myself. I got to come back to, like, oh, this is why you do this way. You know how you need to, like, sometimes you
Yes.
need to put it down to remember, like, oh, that's why I do this. So this year was one of those years. And it exposed me to how much I was doing too much. And
Mm.
so the things that I do are like, I love to make sure I go for a hike. I have a good friend of mine who's here today. We go on these rage hikes, Heather. We like to go on rage hikes, right? Like we're just like, and because we have a similar temperament, okay? And like sometimes I just need to be like, and so like being around folks who I know can receive me in my fullness, that is really important to me. Um, that's one aspect of it. I also like to spend a lot of time alone. Um, and so what that means is like I'm in a new space and it is allowing me to spread out and get like back in touch with my things, right? And so in getting back in touch with all these things that I boxed up when I moved, when I moved places. Now I'm coming home to them, and that's been like really, really supportive. Like it's like, so making home, like a lot of what you're talking about. I've been hosting a lot. Um, and that feels really good, but also spending a lot more time being intentional about how I use my time, a much shorter fuse. That's where that self love kind of comes from. Um, of saying like, I need you to back up, like I need you to back up, like, and just making the space for myself. Yes, that energy calendar that you mentioned, that you're mentioning, Jess, in the chat. I used to do really well with, like, I would have every day of the week was a thing. So like it used to be like documentary Tuesdays. Like, like it's like, what is this thing I love to do that I'm gonna do on this night so that I get to it. So those are some practices I want to bring back into the picture. I used to have this, like, working with like different tools to keep track of how I'm taking care of myself. So like, am I drinking enough water? Did I check this box off that I drank enough water, that I wrote something, or like whatever the 3 or 4 things I decided I needed to do every day. So I think it was like yoga, meditation, and water, and did I wear like my retainer or something like that. Like those were like the things, right? Like, it's and as a practice, like it was very like intense at one point for me, and I think that's why I put it down. But I'm like, I'm bringing that back. That was fun. I used to be able to keep track of that. So that's what it looks like for me right now.
Wow.
Like recharging myself is literally being like, plug yourself in, and also go work with these plants. I keep plants around me, and I see that you keep them around you. What is your favorite plant? Does your plant have a name? Are you allowed to say that one is your favorite, like in this call, because they can hear you. So it's okay. Just like maybe like signal, or maybe we could charades it out. At least, like, what kind of plant is it?
So let me just give some context before I share. So I don't have a green thumb. My green thumb is in another place at another time. I have not arrived. But my partner is amazing with plants, and like she keeps all the plants in our house like on point. They look lush, they look healthy. But as an earth sign, I feel very kind of like, I feel comforted by plants. Like I love having them around. I think in a practical way, like I'm not the best at taking care of them, but I love walking into my home and like having them around. I do talk to them. And my grandmother taught me growing up that you should always name your plants and have a conversation with them. So I'm just also waiting for that green thumb to set in. But I love having them. They're beautiful. Like they just add, like, I don't know, just another layer of like comfort and luxury to your space in a way that is like accessible or like not too expensive. So yeah, plants are good to have around for sure.
Well, Zakia, I just want to encourage you. Go make a relationship with a plant, okay?
I'm trying.
I'm telling you.
I got a few over here.
Look, you working with aloe. You got aloe. That's such a healing plant to have in your space. Like it really is. And it's such a healing plant, period. Like that plant wants to be talked to and touched. It wants you to take a little branch off and just, work with that aloe inside. Put it on a burn. Get it going. Yeah, put it in your facial.
I mean, it's a family effort. Like I dust them and clean them and she waters them.
Well, then you do have a green thumb. You have one.
I'm working on it.
Let them plants love on you.
But I do want to kind of offer another question. I want to bring it back to Jessica and Taylor, kind of like having an exchange. And it makes me think about something that another friend of mine that, that you're familiar with, Jessica, my friend Rohan, is that we do a lot of like co-thinking together that's like very informal. And so hearing you read that exchange between Taylor and Jessica reminds me of this idea of like co-thinking, like what it means to have other Black people like in your corner that you can just like share ideas with and have creative exchanges with. And I think that the consistency in that has helped me develop, not just as an artist, but I think as a person, and like having this comfortable space that I know I can go to flesh out ideas or like dreaming patterns. I know that there's a place I can go to for that. And so I wanted to ask you, like, do you have a particular person in your life that you find yourself like creatively co-thinking with a lot, or like a person that you go to where that person is kind of like your, almost like kind of like a creative counterpart to like your thinking and like your dreaming?
There's so many,
Yeah.
right? Like, so like a big part of the thing I love about being in Pittsburgh, right now especially, is that when I came back here 4 years ago, like around this time, and I was in New York, I was in Brooklyn, had great community there as well. Um, but it really, for me, was like this realization that like I really want to be in a community where like my hands are like in the dirt, where I feel like my hands are in the dirt, and that was definitely happening in New York. Um, and when I came back, I was like, I'm just gonna come back for like a year, like it's fine, right? And then that year passed, and I was like, wow, I forgot how much this is the energy here. And so there is, for me, I find so many different people who I'm in a consistent creative exchange with, where we are kind of talking deeply about the work and our work and other work, but we're also talking about life and the
Mm.
living, and not being in necessarily a state of output, but really thinking closely about what our hearts desire and dreaming. And
Mm.
so much of that creative work, at least for me, and how it shows up in my practice as well, is like that dreaming work of like, what's the world we want to live in? What's the community we want to live in? And just supporting each other and getting to those things. So whether that's purchasing a home, starting a business, planting a small garden, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's help each other. Let's help build the space that we want. And then when I think about that word generative, that
Mm.
is, I'm in a space, especially here, where I'm like, what we don't want is great, but this universe that we live in, this place operates by speaking affirmatively and like saying, like, this is what I'm creating, this is what I want. And so that's where I'm trying to exist in and be in space with folks. And I'm surrounded by so many dope people, like so many of them are here today. I'm like looking in the chat. I'm like, and Jamie, Heather, Diaz, Anquanique, like Jess. Like, I mean, me and Jess get together and dream so much. Alicia, both Alicias. Like, there's so many, um, you know, so it's very blessed with strong community here, and generous in spirit. Like, I was thinking about this phrase today, generous in spirit and for the culture, in service of the culture. I was like generous in spirit and service to the culture. I was like, that is what
Yes.
is happening here. And so there's never one person. It's like, hey, y'all trying to go for a hike? Hey, y'all want to get together and go do this? Y'all want to play some spades? Y'all want to go do, like, it's just we get together and we're living and life is happening. So yes, there are go-tos. I named some of them. If I didn't name you, please do not take it. Don't be offended. You know I love you. You know my heart.
No, thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important to kind of point out like community and like ecosystems. And I think about that a lot, like especially what you were saying about this aspect of like having people to like dream with that's not really directed towards a particular like output, right? And I think that's something that like I'm consistently becoming more interested in is like having those kinds of conversations. And yeah, like I think that's beautiful. So thank you for sharing that with me.
That was a great question. I
Mhm.
want to know. Um, um, so thinking about ecosystems, what is the thing that you feel like is most abundant in your ecosystem, and what is something that you would like to see kind of begin to see more of and to show up, something that it might not so much that it's lacking, but like, wow, like how can I even rethink this to be able to see an abundance of something that I might not see?
I love that. Honestly, if I'm being honest, like I feel like for me, I've had I think over the course of the pandemic, it was really, really rough for me in terms of like friendships. And I felt like a lot of my friendships were being challenged during the pandemic. Or there were just various ways where I felt like certain things were not showing up at that time. And so now I'm kind of in a stage of actually deepening like new friendships and new connections with people that have sort of just like opened up my heart in different ways that were not open before. And so I think for me, like just on a personal level, like that has been something that has truly meant the world to me, is like reconnecting with people that I, for a moment, almost thought, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it with this person, or I don't know how much this can be challenged, but kind of like reestablishing those connections in new ways, while also developing new relationships that are purely built on like friendship and like connecting and kind of going back to that sort of like having people to dream with. That has sort of been the space that I've been cultivating, and not being fearful to jump into that space and trying to practice like, I guess like more radical vulnerability around that. And then clearly stating within these developing friendships, like this is what I'm looking for in a friend, like as we sort of evolve, as this relationship kind of like grows, like these are the things that I want, these are the things that I need, and like not being, because it can sound silly, I think sometimes to say those things out loud, but I think for me, it's been really helpful. And also just like furthering and like expanding that abundance of like platonic love and like being more, I guess, like more open with that. Like I've been telling people a lot more like, I love you, or this is why I want to see you, or this is why I want to spend time with you, or this is what I feel like I really need right now. And so that's kind of where I'm locating that abundance in my life, is through that. So
I love that. It's
yeah,
so important. And
it is.
I think that was a big lesson for a lot of us, that platonic love is so necessary, and that love is something that like you need it. Like we learned that it's a necessity, and that it's not always easy on you, but it can create ease once you get a hold of yourself, you know?
And I love love. Like I just love all types of love. And I love like sharing affection and like being affectionate. And so I think those are kind of like things right now that I am finding spaces of like growth and abundance that have been very, I think, surprising actually. Yeah.
Radical.
You okay over there, Jessica?
My hands aren't moving as fast as I need to like write these things down. But please don't let me interrupt. Continue.
I love that we're both like,
No, my favorite thing about this one is that you guys are actually taking time to think of questions. You know, I think in other sessions it's been like, immediately. And I really appreciate we've been practicing the slowness that we're preaching. And we are also practicing being very present in this space with each other. You know, this is like our space. It can look like however, yeah, right. Naomi, I think Anne and Jamie have been at each of them that we've had thus far. Marietta, I think maybe you have too. And it's cool. Hey, friends. It's cool that they all have their own different vibe. You know, this feels like y'all. This feels like what did Marietta say? We're this is a kiki, you know, like it's Friday, we're having drinks. We are drinking things.
We're having beverages. Beverages.
I'll use this natural pause to uplift some things that I've heard that might be worth circling back to. Thank you, Naomi. The question that we started with was, how do we make critiques within our own spaces? How do we critique Black people in Black spaces? Jackie said with love. And Zakiya said with care. And that's how we started our chat today. Marietta referenced Felicia Savage Friedman.
Yes.
The call in, not the call out, as a technique that we could use.
I'm a student of Felicia's. Shout out to Yoga Roots.
Shout out. Also, do you want to use this opportunity to plug Alicia Dawn's event tomorrow?
Yes. So tomorrow, be sure to check out Take Up Space. It's actually all of the things we're talking about. It's a space for people who birth babies to take care of themselves, to rest up, to breathe. So it's called Take Up Space, right? Taking up the space you need to take care of yourself. And it's gonna have, so it's always at the intersection of yoga and art, and breath and breathing. And so definitely check it out, yogamotif.com, at yogamotif on IG. Yogamotif is spelled YOGAMATIF. And definitely hop into the festival. It's going to be going on all day. A lot of opportunities for all the folks, for families, but especially for those taking care of little ones. So important. The lineup is sick. Yeah, definitely want y'all to take care of yours, especially in this holiday season. It's been so beautiful to hear the intention being set. My mom is like, this is going to be a calm holiday season. Y'all gonna get something, but it's just like very like, we're not doing all of that. If you're gonna be stressed, I don't want it for you. She said, I don't want it for you if you're gonna be stressed. So I'm with her on that.
So am I. I'm also with that.
Yeah, it's like take care of ourselves.
Heather, who's here, right? Heather is going to be leading. Heather, are you participating in that? I'm not trying to call you out, but I see you here.
Yes, Heather is. Oh, look, it's the face, Jess. I see you here.
Hey, Heather. Good luck tomorrow. You're going to be great.
It's going to be wonderful.
Okay, other things, and then we'll circle back. Jackie said, quote, the love that I'd like to walk in, I have to show to myself. There was this concept of co-thinking that I think paired with a radical vulnerability and a platonic love could be a recipe for success. I love, Zakiya, you dreaming of leisure. Yes, like that is, let's uplift that. Love is a necessity. It's not easy, but it can create an ease for yourself. Wow, like I felt that. And then there are these questions that I'd like to just share with us. How are you showing yourself love? That hit me. Who do you dream with? I really appreciate that. And how can we be in service to the culture? Oof. Okay, those are 4 questions that I don't think we will be able to answer in our evening tonight, or maybe even our lifetimes. Maybe this is like our lives' work. But in these next 5 minutes, I want to pass it back to y'all and let you share what those resonating thoughts for me present to both of y'all.
Whew. Being in service.
Generosity is the word that's coming up. That's it.
Mm.
Like we talk about abundance, we talk about ease, right? But it's like you got to give yourself permission to step into all of those things, and those are all, in many ways, they serve one another. So if you're able to put yourself into service, like what does that mean? It means to be generous. But not in a way that you can be generous and not in a way that undermines yourself, where you're overgiving. Being generous is not being overgiving, it's being generous. It's knowing that there's more and that you're okay, you know? But that when I think of service, that's it. It's generosity.
I think the thing for me that I was thinking a lot about is like listening. Kind of like as an act of service, because I think all of those questions obviously are not far removed from each other. And I think one thing that I've learned from this year is just like learning how to listen more. And I think it goes back to that idea of like critique, like sort of like moving so fast with like your own thoughts or like your opinions on something or how you want to move on something. But I think like listening first is really important. Even if it's just listening to someone or listening to something that you may not be excited to listen to, I think is something that I've learned. And I also had to take on a new role this year working with an organization that has required me to kind of like step back for a little while and not be so like eager to kind of like throw myself into something or kind of like throw my I guess input, but rather just kind of like take a back seat and be like, okay, let me just listen for a while and hear what people are saying or reading the room. And I think that goes back to generosity, is, you know, listening to like my body is really important and is an act of like love and like knowing that like I need to slow down. Like that slowness can actually be like a lived practice. And that kind of came to me through listening. I love what you were saying, Jacqueline, about dreaming and like having people to dream with. Like, I honestly love listening to what other people are dreaming about. Like I literally tell people, I'm like, I will just listen to you. Like whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're dreaming, like I'm here to listen to that. And that is really important to me. So I think that's the thing for me that comes up, which can also be a generous act too, but it's just like over and over, I just keep thinking about listening. And you were talking about hiking. Like listening to like nature, listening to your like environment, like what's going on around you, is really important. Like I love listening to water and being near the water. Like, so that's the thing that I kind of like go back to a lot.
So lovely. Okay, also this whole chat has made me think of this. Have y'all watched the Issa Rae and Regina King discussion about longevity in the industry? No. Okay, so this is what we're doing for the rest of tonight. It's only like an hour and a half, but it's so awesome because it's such a really candid conversation. And I feel like both of them are so vulnerable and so generous with their experience. And I just watched it yesterday and it feels very familiar from our discussion today. Zakia, you know, you are joined by not only an artist who uses everything as her media, but Jackie is a bomb lawyer And if you come into the event where you might need some support, I hope you lean on your new friend for that. And Jackie, you're joined by Zakia, who's not only an artist who uses multiple disciplines, who explores multiple disciplines, but also she's a brilliant and dope educator. So if there's an opportunity for you to really lean on somebody who has this unique skill set, I hope that this is just literally the planting of a seed.
I'm also trying to plan my way to Pittsburgh. Hopefully.
When you coming? Hold on.
I want to come in the next year or so, like sometime in 2022. I've never been before.
Well, then,
and I'm like, I need to get up there.
Say less, Zakia. Say less. Like, come in the summer. I would offer the summer. Because I mean, it's a blessing. It's the same way Chicago summers make up for Chicago winters. A Pittsburgh summer will make up for whatever you went through when the Hawks swooped down. You know?
That's how I feel. That is definitely how it feels to live in Chicago. Even now, I'm just like, I just got to make it through May, June. I can be outside with my house music and my picnics. So that is my motivation.
Also, I was going to say, it sounds like that vibe, that energy is there. So like, I'm all about a park sit. Yes, girls. I will invite, I'd be like, y'all, we're going to the park today. Like, it's happening. We go to the pool. There's the auntie club. We all go to the pool. I hope the pool's open this summer, like we bring snacks.
Yes, to the auntie club.
We have a good time. Okay. So yeah, definitely pull up, whether it's because you got something to do, you got people to hang out with is the point.
Right. Even if I don't have anything to do, I'm like, I just need to go.
Come get your leisure on.
Yeah, I dream of you.
Yes. I'm also taking notes and saving this link that you sent me about this wine.
Put her on, Jackie.
Look, we were just talking about this. I have been walking past this bottle of Sun Goddess every time I go in the wine and spirit store, and I'm like, tonight's not the night.
I just like the bottle. I'm like, the bottle
is fire.
Sold. I'm sold.
Well, what a great way to end. Let's all purchase wine from Mary J. And then maybe we can enjoy it together on our next session, which is going to be on January the 7th at 5 p.m. We're going to be talking about land and environment with Amina K. Cooper, Mavis Gregg, and Ricardo Robinson. It's going to be awesome. I hope you guys can join us at 5 o'clock. This is our last one for the year. So I feel like Cardi B spiked whipped cream. Sorry, I got distracted.
I see it. Oh, and Cardi.
Wait, what?
Naomi, put your voice in the space, baby. Let's see.
These celebrities are just taking it to new levels because I'm like, spiked whipped cream. What is that?
Honestly, I saw a video of her spraying whipped cream in people's mouths today. And I was like, that's weird, but it's probably marketing for her whipped cream.
That whipped cream on these ice cream sundaes I be making. Y'all.
Sounds like our next soiree. Okay, y'all.
Whipped cream.
I love everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. This is such a beautiful space with such intention. Thank you for, I'm just so excited. This has been wonderful.
And it was wonderful to meet you, Jackie.
It was wonderful meeting you too, Zakia. I was
hopefully we can meet each other in person one day.
Why are we crossing our fingers? We literally just planned a whole trip for you to Pittsburgh. Yes. Like, I'm so lost.
I will see you.
It's gonna happen.
Definitely gonna hang out. It's gonna be a thing. Yes, this has been wonderful. It's a pleasure, Zakia. And I have to come out to Chicago, so. I have been promising that for a couple years, so it's definitely going to be a thing.
Please come when it gets warm.
Obviously. Like, I mean, just in the same plane.
We could swap
of-
homes. Like we can talk options. Like let's have a
what was that?
conversation.
Was that the holiday where they swapped houses and it was like the whole movie was okay? I'm so into that. I would absolutely.
Look at this love that's happening. You know, we start, right, Naomi? We start and it's all serious. And then the end of it's like, what's up, girlfriend? Like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Okay, I'm calling you right now. Text me later. This is so awesome. Okay, we're going to end now.
Jessica, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, you guys don't go anywhere, but we're going to end the recording and we're going to kiss everyone goodnight. Mwah. Thank you so much.
Good night,
Happy holidays, y'all, but more importantly, awesome New Year's.